Hey everyone, today I'm going to take a look at the new Gen 3 version of the Microtech Scarab 2. Let's get this box open. Now the Scarab 2 has been a very popular model for a while. It's, I would say, Microtech's most tactical OTF they make. I believe it is overall their longest and heaviest knife. But the updates that they did here to the Gen 3 really impressed me. And I'm going to talk about all of them here as we go along. Starting up with the blade, we're using Microtech's M390MK proprietary blade steel. It's everything you love about M390, but tweaked a bit to be a little bit better for EDC. You can see this version has their apocalyptic finish, matching all of the hardware and clip. There's a bit of a satin finish on those flats, but not a whole lot. And on both sides of the blade, you can see those fullers, that fluted blade. That should make it a little bit lighter, as well as help expel any dirt or debris that builds up in the blade. I think that's really cool. You can see down here, right there by the clip, there's actually two holes on either side. And whenever the blade is closed, you can actually see the bottom of it through those holes. So the combination of the fluting and fullers should really help expel and prevent any dirt, gunk, and grime buildup every single time you open and close this blade. I think that's a really neat addition to an OTF. And while we're talking about preventing any buildup of debris, this also features their new Crud Kutter, which is that milling you see there underneath the slide switch. It should really help to grind up and expel any gunk or debris that builds up, ensuring smooth, slick operation of your knife. Now, this one is riding on their new dual fuel drivetrain, which hopefully you can hear is super snappy, but it's also incredibly smooth. Now, what that means is on all of the old Microtechs, there was a single spring down the center that was used to open and close the blade. Now there is two. This allows for a much smoother operation as well as a much harder hitting blade. And then moving down to the handle, you'll see that the Scarab is still using Torx hardware, which is really cool. Even before Microtech fully switched over to Torx, the Scarab model was really pioneering the way. You'll see it still has those traction grip inlays on both sides. The milling and design on the handle is a bit different, but certainly still looks like a Scarab handle to me. Now moving on to the spine, you'll see that this is a very thick handle still. They did round off those edges a bit, but it is still a very blocky knife, and I actually really like that. I prefer a more blocky handle to a rounded one. I think it just really locks in the hand really well. Like, I wanted to go ahead and bring in one of my favorite knives from the past year, which is the Gen 3 Combat Troodon. You'll see that it's right at about the same size, pretty similar. But then you flip it over to the spine, and you can see just how much thicker the Scarab 2 is. The deep contours on the Combat Troodon do make it appear a little bit worse than it actually is, but you can still see just how thick the Scarab 2 is. Like, even just on that slide switch, like, I was thinking that all of these updates that they did to the Combat Troodon would make it just the absolute perfect OTF for me. And then I put my hands on the Scarab 2, and it's giving it a run for its money. Microtech is just absolutely nailing it this year. Like, this, it's such a small detail, but the extra width on this button here just make it so comfortable on the pad of my thumb that it feels like I could do that all day without my thumb getting tore up. It just feels right. Now I wanted to go ahead and bring in another size comparison with the Recon 40 or 040 from Guardian Tactical. As you can see, these are very similar in overall size. Now when I first put my hands on the Recon 40, I thought, it is awesome. It was a massive beast of a knife, but it was something that was just a bit too big and chunky for me. I think normally I would always want to stick in the realm of the Recon 25 or 35, much better EDC size for me. But then I put my hands on the Scarab, which is almost identical. Again, this is one of the most tempting knives that I've held in a while. Overall, there's not a ton of aesthetic changes to the Scarab 2 from the previous version. It still definitely looks like the Scarab, and I gotta admit, the previous Scarab really did nothing for me. I had held them a couple times, and I thought the same thing. It was a little too big, a little too chunky, not for me. But all of these small little changes, because again, it looks almost identical to the old version, but the small contouring that they did, the dual fuel drivetrain, these small little things just really add up and made this one of the best OTFs I've ever felt in my life. And that is not blowing smoke. So if you have not put hands on the Gen 3 Scarab 2 yet, please go out there and do it. Because if you're anything like me and you normally steer clear of large, tactical, especially OTF knives, you probably wouldn't have even given this one a shot. But I'm telling you, you gotta. Now, if you want to see even more specs on this knife, links to it will be in the description down below. They'll take you on over to GPKNIVES.com. While you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, stay sharp.